Hi guys and welcome to another vlog. These are the Kia Sonet facelifted models, and in today's video I'm going to be telling you what is new or what is different. Now this is the X line, this is the GT line, one petrol, one diesel. This is the petrol, this is the diesel. Both are automatics actually, but since most people are going to be opting for the non-X line model because the X line is expensive and this color is very difficult to maintain, so we're going to be focusing on what are the changes to this particular model. Of course, I'm going to be giving the beans to both these cars today to tell you how's the performance, but nothing has changed on that front. So let's get started. It gets these new headlights with inverted L-shaped DRLs, or are they C-shaped? A new grille which also neatly houses the front parking camera, a revised front bumper with new fog lamps, new alloy wheel design which looks awfully similar to the older model, new tail lights with the connected treatment which definitely looks so much better than before, a roof mounted spoiler at the rear for better aerodynamics. Of course I'm kidding, no aerodynamics here, and a new rear bumper as well. This is the reversing light, there is no rear fog light here. It also gets a new olive green color from the Seltos which actually looks quite nice. It now also gets rear disc brakes. They've also removed the fake exhaust design from the rear bumper. The real exhaust has always been under the rear bumper with the pre-facelift as well as the facelifted model. The profile of this car remains the same as before. They have just done a nip and tuck just to make this car look fresh because competition in this segment is absolutely crazy, which brings me to the price of this car. It's going to start at around 9.5 lakhs on road Mumbai and go all the way till 18.5 lakhs on road Mumbai. Yes, it is expensive for the top end variants, but then it also offers a lot of features. By the way, the Tata Nexon also crosses rupees 18 lakhs now. So cars, Chintu Mintu cars rather, like these are getting very expensive because obviously this is a sub 4 meter car. And since I'm talking about money, let me tell you about an amazing fintech platform called PayMe. It's a RBI registered NBFC into digital lending which offers attractive discounts and interest rates with complete digital onboarding and easy repayments. Taking loan from PayMe requires minimum KYC and can be availed without any collaterals. The approval is instant. PayMe is fully compliant with recent RBI digital lending guidelines. Check the link in the description to know more. And now let's quickly get inside because the changes there are also quite minimal. The most significant change to the Sonet's interior happens to be the new 10.25-inch fully digital instrument cluster, which is the same as the bigger Seltos. This shows you the tire pressure monitor and also has an ADAS display. When you change the drive modes, it also changes colors and it also gets blind view monitor, which is very useful. This 10.25-inch screen, which has always been fantastic, gets a new housing. And Kia has made some revisions to the button placement here. Another useful feature addition happens to be this 360-degree parking camera, which is just amazing. Look at that, it's super slick. The only thing is that it does not match the color of the car. And where is the sunroof? That's not shown here. But look at the resolution, quite impressive, huh? The driver's seat gets 4-way power adjust. However, in order to increase or decrease the height of the seat, you still have to use this lever. This car gets 5 upholstery options because there are going to be around 30 variants. That's a lot of variants, creating a lot of confusion, but there seems to be a Sonet for almost everyone out there. There's also a new black and brown dual tone interior theme. Kia has now added 60-40 split seats at the rear for added practicality. It also gets ADAS now, which I'll be showing you while driving this car, of course, and that sums up most of the changes to the new Sonet facelift, which means it's time to tell you 3 things I like and 3 things I dislike about the Kia Sonet. The first thing I really like about the Sonet are the multiple engine and gearbox options. All the engines are quite refined and smooth. They're also decently efficient. The second thing I really like about the Sonet are the features. It's loaded to the brim. It gets features like a flat bottom steering wheel on the GT line, steering mounted audio controls with some buttons getting fantastic knurled finishing, automatic headlights, keyless entry, connected car features, a rear wiper, rear parking camera, rear parking sensors, and yes, there are 4 of them. Stop barking, dog. Who let the dogs out? Who? Front parking sensors, rear window sunblinds, rear AC vents with 2 USB-C charging sockets right below, ISOFIX child seat mounts, a rear center armrest with cup holders, an air purifier with virus protection, a single pane sunroof which opens even further. Yeah, that much. A fantastic Bose sound system with sound mood lamp which has multiple colors, an umbrella holder. Sorry, I don't have an umbrella, but these Pringles don't fit in here. Can be a water bottle holder. Push button engine start, 6 airbags, climate control air conditioning and ventilated front seats. It also gets drive and traction modes. An auto dimming inside rear view mirror, a sunglass holder, a wireless charging pad with USB-C, USB-A and a 12-volt charging port as well. This screen is absolutely fantastic. It gets valet mode, quiet mode, and there are voice memos which you can record as well. It gets Apple CarPlay and Android Auto connectivity, but unfortunately neither of them are wireless, so you have to plug it with a USB cable. This car also gets fantastic onboard navigation, which is super slick to use. The quality of the maps is absolutely fantastic, and the best thing is that it has got a split screen here, which means that you can see multiple data options right there, including another map as well as the clock, compass and calendar too, and you can also get sports data as well as the weather data. And the third thing I really like is the performance of the turbocharged petrol engines. Yes, this car is quite punchy to drive. But here are three things I don't like about the Sonet. The first thing is the minor cost cutting. The rear center passenger does not get a headrest, which is quite surprising considering he gets a proper seat belt. And there is no vanity mirror here on the driver's side, which means that the driver should not really see his face. And there is no height adjustable seat belts for the front passengers. And then there is this hard scratchy plastic all over the interior. And the further cost cutting happens to be the fact that the spare wheel is not an alloy, it's also a smaller sized one. The second is the lack of rear seat space, because it isn't a spacious rear seat at all, and then obviously you feel claustrophobic because of this quarter glass which is missing from its brother from another mother, the Venue. But headroom seems to be adequate enough. It's only the lack of interior room in the rear which the competition definitely does better, because some of its rivals offer a lot more space in the rear seat. Thankfully though, there are magazine pockets right here. And while the rear seat space is less, even the boot is quite small and the loading lip is on the higher side. The third thing is the lack of safety rating. Agreed that Kia has given it a lot of standard safety features right from the base trim, and it now gets level 1 ADAS with 10 features. It still doesn't really have a stable body shell as per the crash tests which were done earlier. Hopefully Kia updates the same. Okay, it's time to drive. Before that I'm going to open the door so you can see this nice effect which comes. Quite cool now. Let's turn on the car straight away, and it's super duper silent. Audio turns on all the time, I don't know why. Let's actually open the map because we can. Let's change this mode as well. There's not much to see here, but we can just put the compass anyways. Straight into drive, handbrake down, and I am going to change the traction mode to mud because we are in mud right now. Not that it matters, not that it's going to make any change, because obviously I'm not going to get bogged down here. But this ESP system actually tweaks the way the ESP is delivered. Actually, the drive modes tweak the way the ESP performs, and that's the difference between the three traction modes of this vehicle, because if you put all the power down, you're just going to get dhasod inside. So ride is on the stiffer side, which is something which the Sonet doesn't really excel in terms of the ride quality. But this being the 1 liter turbo petrol engine is super smooth and refined, and now because we have accumulated a lot of this, so it's, oh god, it's flying all across the place, and there's so much noise coming from the tires, which actually wants me to turn on the camera. There is the driver rear view monitor. Don't make so much sound, full onto the throttle. Oh god, I don't know how we are carrying so much mud right below the tires, but yes, traction levels and all are good. Let's get out of traction mode. Let's actually get into sport mode. Firstly, there are 3 drive modes. You won't believe that it is the eco drive mode, which is faster than the normal drive mode under outright acceleration, and eco is also very efficient, so yeah, you can have your cake and eat it too. The steering is on the lighter side. The car is quite easy to drive. It's very compact, and the steering offers decent feel and feedback. I mean, it doesn't feel hairy at all. However, I have to tell you that this is not a very exciting car to drive, although it is on the stiffer side. Body roll is decently well contained. Ride quality could be better. Ride quality at high speeds is better. Now this car, which is obviously the petrol, produces 120 horsepower. This is the 1 liter turbo petrol engine. They have a 1.2 liter naturally aspirated petrol engine, which obviously does the maximum sales for them. 83 horsepower and 115 Newton meters of torque. The 1 liter turbo petrol obviously is fantastic. It's very smooth. It's very refined. It has this rocking effect because it's a 3-cylinder motor, of course, but the mid-range is fantastic. Firstly, there is turbo lag. There has to be turbo lag now because it's a small capacity petrol engine. So there is turbo lag lower down, which this DSG gearbox, it's a 7-speed gearbox. It's not called a DSG, it's called a DCT. It's a dual clutch automatic gearbox, and it gets paddle shifters as well, which is quite nice. And then it becomes super aggressive in the way it makes shifts. Yeah, you can hear it becomes quite vocal. Making a quick overtake and all is not a difficulty at all, because this car actually does a decent job around the corners. It's not bad at all, but then I will not say it's the best either, because in terms of driving dynamics, you really don't expect much from Koreans. But this is a very reassuring car to drive. I mean, it doesn't feel hairy at all. Now, this 1-liter turbo petrol engine feels the best in the mid-range, so it performs exceptionally well between 2000 to 5000 RPM and has 172 Newton meters of torque, which is quite a lot of torque. Yeah, and that's the reason why it punches way above its capacity, because 1000cc is nothing, yeah, but it performs supremely well. In fact, 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in sport mode takes 11.5 seconds, which is decently quick. So we are actually going to come into sport mode straight away. I'm going to turn off traction control because I can, and that traction control is off. I think if we keep it pressed, will something else happen or not? Yeah, now traction and ESC both are completely disabled, which is quite good, and that makes me want to launch this car, obviously. So in terms of fuel efficiency, it all depends on your driving style, because a turbocharged petrol engine, yes, children crossing is ahead. I can see all the children. Oh my god, children, mom. Jokes aside, this turbo petrol engine obviously drinks a lot when you extract the most out of it, because that's how turbocharged engines work. Otherwise, it's telling me a DTE, that's distance to empty, of around 618 kilometers. I think it's a 40-liter fuel tank. So yes, that is quite a lot of range offered by this car. So we're going to make a quick U-turn here and just see how effortless this is. Yeah, it's pretty effortless. Level 1 ADAS is there, sir. Please be careful. So it has got forward collision warning and all that is obviously there. So now is the time to launch this car, which means left foot on the brake, right foot on the accelerator, and stop start system, turn off the car. It revs only to 2000 RPM. It bogs down, doesn't launch because of the DSG box. Becomes vocal, upshifts at around 6000 RPM. It has got lane keep assist, it's got all that, and it's making so much noise because of little bit of dust, rather little bit of mud getting accumulated around the tires. So performance is decent, but flat out acceleration is not going to please you. It can be 1 second faster if this was a manual, because the automatic just does not let you launch. The DSG box will not let you launch at all. It just does not let you go pedal to the metal, purely because this engine has been tuned in a way to protect this gearbox, so it just does not launch. I know some people would put it in neutral, rev it, and then put it into drive. Well, that's not something I would recommend, because these gearboxes are very expensive. The dual clutch gearbox is super expensive, so never ever try that stunt. Horn is nice and loud somehow, and I can use the paddles if I want, but the gearbox is actually very fast with shifts. It only fumbles at lower speeds. Now it kind of goes up and down, and I mean, it revs all over the place at lower speeds, so it feels a bit jerky there. But it is the 1.2-liter petrol engine which most people are going to be buying, and that offers adequate performance. It's not a very interesting engine, and that's the reason why Hyundai Kia would never ever get that engine on a media drive, because they know that engine is not the best. So they are always pushing the 1-liter turbo petrol engine, which is more expensive because it costs around 1.5 lakhs more when compared to the 1.2-liter NA engine, because turbocharged, direct injection. I mean, it just has all the tech you would ever expect from a fantastic engine, and this engine is absolutely fantastic. No two ways about it. Yeah, it kind of sounds sporty as well. For an engine with 3 cylinders, the sound is actually very impressive, so I would not complain about that at all. Now, you get a 6-speed IMT with this one. There is no regular manual, and the IMT is something which people don't really like, because either you give me the full thing or you don't give me the full thing at all, or you don't give me anything at all, because the IMT is right in between. Without a clutch, you get confused. You keep making shifts, then you forget, you think you're driving an automatic, and that results in the car consuming a lot of fuel. Thankfully though, the diesel now gets a manual finally. Meanwhile, the 1.2-liter petrol engine is only available with a 5-speed manual gearbox. The diesel now gets a 6-speed manual as well, along with a 6-speed dual clutch is here. Torque converter automatic gearbox. I love the way this has been done. Hyundai Kia do it the best, the blind view monitor, because it shows me clearly what's around me. This is so nicely done, right in your line of sight. Very nice. So we're going to make a quick U-turn again. I don't know how many U-turns I'm going to make here, because we're in Bhopal right now, and unfortunately there isn't much space to really give this car the beans. So come on, respond. That's a bit slow. Now with rear disc, braking performance is definitely better when compared to before, but there you see ABS being a bit too sensitive. And let's launch. Little bit of wheel spin, and there's a speed breaker ahead where I'll show you the stiffness, because you're going to Oh my goodness. So let's do one thing. Let's quickly shift to the diesel. And the diesel is the engine to buy, or rather to opt for, because yes, it offers very good performance. Firstly, there's so much torque, which is absolutely unbelievable. 250 Newton meters of torque. That's a lot. And I'm going to make a quick U-turn here to show you how easy this car is to drive. Now, obviously, the diesel is slightly stiffer because they have to stiffen it up at the front, as the diesel engine obviously weighs more, because more displacement, obviously. Steering centers quite quickly. And why are we in the wrong mode? Firstly, that is the tire pressure monitor right there, and it tells you urea level as well of the car, not of mine, because obviously this is a BS6 diesel, so it has to have DPF and all that. Let's actually change this to the ADAS mode, and I'm actually going to come into sport mode. Sport mode is the best. If I am in, say, normal or eco drive mode, and if I put the gearbox in manual mode, it will automatically activate the sport mode. It does that as well, which is basically the gearbox is in sport, so the car has to be in sport. And in terms of outright acceleration, all the modes, eco, normal and sport, perform the same. However, on part throttle now, you will find a big difference between the performance of all the three various modes. Obviously, it is the very best in sport. Around the corners, this feels slightly better to drive when compared to the petrol, and I would recommend the diesel over the petrol any freaking day, because the turbo petrol engine is also very expensive. So the diesel is not that much more expensive when compared to the turbo petrol engine, and it offers fantastic performance along with very good efficiency as well. And the fuel efficiency of this car is around 15 to 18 kilometers per liter. In fact, when I got this car with full tank in the morning, it was showing me a range of 1000 kilometers, which is quite a lot. Yeah, it's insane the range which this diesel engine offers. This is a 1.5 liter turbocharged petrol engine. It gets variable geometry turbocharger, and the performance is very nice because there's some amount of lag, but not that bad. Mid-range is fantastic. In fact, peak power is around 115 PS, which isn't much, but torque output of 250 Newton meters comes in at a low 1500 RPM and stays there till 2750 RPM, resulting in a fantastic mid-range punch. Now, it's not a very high revving engine, and it is a bit noisy in the higher end of the rev range, but it gets the job done. It is slightly slower when compared to the turbo petrol because of the heavier weight and lesser output by around 5 PS, which isn't much, but the torque is so much more. It will go from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 12 seconds, which is like half a second slower, which is fast enough. But it is the drivability of this engine which is phenomenal. It feels punchy. This engine is actually not made for a car as small as the Sonet. It's a sub 4 meter car, obviously. This engine is actually made for cars like, say, the Seltos and all those cars. So in comparison with a light body, it performs very nicely. Yeah, it performs very nicely. Real SUV right in front of me. I like this engine. I love the fact that we have got paddle shifters as well, and not that really helps because it will not let me hold on to a gear. Yeah, it will automatically upshift whenever it feels like. I love the blind view monitor. I keep saying it again and again and again and again. It's just fantastic, the blind view monitor. Engine is so vocal, revving to beyond 4,500 RPM. So yeah, gearing is on the shorter side, but the engine does like to rev and make unnecessary sounds, but it's pointless. Doesn't really move in the top end of the rev range. The mid range is the best, and if you want to control where the gearbox is or how it performs, get the manual, because the manual is finally back. A 6-speed manual transmission is now back in the Sonet diesel. Hopefully they had also brought it back in the Sonet turbo petrol as well, because the IMT is not that great. It's neither here and it's neither there. With the 6-speed manual gearbox, well, you can take control of the shifts and really enjoy, and also do a wheel spin, because this car does not do any wheel spin because the torque converter gearbox will not let you launch, just like the DCT. It's a little bit more forgiving because it's cheaper to repair when compared to a DCT, but it's not as quick with shifts, so you can feel the difference if you drive the DCT and then drive the torque converter automatic. It just kind of feels a little lethargic, but then you really don't want super fast shifts either. It gets the job done. In short, there's also 6-speed IMT, so there are so many gearbox options with the diesel. Everything is 6-speed, of course, but you have to remember one very important thing. Kia has actually updated the power output from the 6-speed manual gearbox. Wait, what, why and how? Well, if you don't know this, the earlier Sonet used to come with a 6-speed manual until, it was obviously discontinued. That one used to produce 100 horsepower. No, it did not get the variable geometry turbocharger. This one gets the VGT, and the automatic obviously got the VGT, resulting in better performance. Now they have made the output numbers standard, so even with the manual you get 115 horsepower and 250 Newton meters of torque. So with the manual, that is absolutely unbelievable performance. In a light body, it really performs well, and as far as what I remember with the manual, that manual gearbox is decent with shifts, and the clutch isn't too heavy either, so you're really going to enjoy it. Plus, being a manual, it's cheaper by around 1.2 lakh rupees. I mean, I don't know why would anyone opt for an automatic unless and until you want the convenience of driving in the city and all that. Trust me, the manual is the one to opt for. It is just so much better. So we are going to come to a quick halt and try to launch this car. I think there's too much traffic here, so we're going to do it ahead. Come on, respond. Now it will respond better. Okay, now we are going to come into drive mode. So traction control can be turned off completely along with the ESC also. So I'm going to keep this button pressed. You press it once, it turns off traction control. You keep it pressed, even the ESC is disabled, which means that you can launch it a bit aggressively. Okay, we're going to make a quick U-turn. It's time to then launch this car. The horn, so nice, the horn. It makes me so horny. I mean honky. Okay, let's go. Somehow the handling seems to be slightly better. I mean, obviously there is body roll. It is not the most dynamic to drive, but some cars in the segment definitely handle better. Can you tell me which car I'm talking about? Leave it in the comment section below. Come on, power, power, power. That is the 0 to 100 km/h acceleration, and the brakes could be so much better, especially the ABS sensitivity, way too much. But yes, the diesel is very, very, very impressive. Quite a lot of fun as well. And now that speed breaker is there, I'm going to do the same, jumping a speed breaker test. Let's do it. And yeah, it did it slightly better than the petrol, because the front is stiffer now, so it didn't bounce as much, or probably that speed breaker wasn't big enough. And on that bombshell, it's time to end this video with my verdict of what I feel about the Kia Sonet facelift. Remember one thing, the ending today is with a twist. The Sonet has always been a good car, and this facelift was definitely not needed. But hey, who does not want more features? And Kia has really loaded this car to the brim. And with the additional features, obviously comes the additional price. This is quite an expensive car considering the size, but if you're looking for features, you would definitely like this car. It's not very practical because space isn't that much at the rear, but yes, it gets a lot of equipment. However, for the price of the top end models, you can actually get a lower variant of the Seltos, which is something you should consider. Meanwhile, this car is as good as ever. You'll really enjoy the fact that it has so many features that some of the cars costing twice as much do not have it. If you like this video, make sure to give it the thumbs up, that's the like button, and also subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to check out Pay Me. It's somewhere on the top right corner of the screen, of course, the link. In the quest to actually get to a unique location, I've ended up getting the car to such a location wherein the chances of it getting stuck are quite high, because this is a front wheel drive jacked up hatchback like all others in the segment, of course, other than the Thar and other than the Bolero Neo. Is that TUV 300? So yeah, all I can tell you is play stupid games, win stupid prizes.